Oh, here I am.
We'll try to get
Very
stuff
good.
taken care of for Chris by 6:30. He has to leave at 6:30, he says. Okay. All right, let's get this party started. Let's start with introductions. I will start. My name is Laurel Burke. I'm from the Eugene side and I am the current chair. Vicky?
I'm Vicki Mello. I'm from Eugene. I'm the vice chair and government relations subcommittee chair.
Jesse?
Hi, folks. I'm Jesse Carey Hobbs. I'm Natural Area Operations Supervisor for the City of Eugene, and I'm the city's liaison to the CPC.
Fraser?
Hello, everyone. I'm Fraser McDonald. I am a natural resource planner at Whilamut Park and Recreation District and the Whilamut liaison to the CPC.
Bill?
Bill Maloney, I'm the representative of the public. I live adjacent to the park, and up until last month, I was walking in the park every day, but I've started traveling again. So I've missed a few days.
Oh, welcome.
We've missed you.
We have. Sharon?
I'm Sharon, and I don't take sides.
Terry?
I'm Terry Kimball, and I'm on the Springfield side, and I'm on the government relations and the Talking Stone subcommittees.
Chris?
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Wigg. I serve as a member of the Whilamut Board of Directors. And so I'm excited to be with you. And I apologize that I have to take off a little bit early, but Fraser and Eric keep me pretty well in the loop. So I look forward to hearing about anything that happens after I have to take off. Thank you.
Great. Beth?
Hi, I'm Beth Stein. I'm the director of Nearby Nature, and I'm not on the CPC, but I just come to talk about the park and what we're doing in the park. And I probably do have to leave around 6:30 at the latest as well.
Thanks, Beth. Paul?
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul. I'm new, and I've been wanting to come visit with you all for a long time now. I'm with Harlow Neighbors. I'm the chair of the Harlow Neighbors Executive Committee. And we're real interested in finding out what's going on in the CPC and the park, since it's in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Joseph?
I'm Joseph Calverth. I'm a CPC member from Springfield, and I'm on the Habitat Committee.
Thank you. Carl?
Yeah, I'm Carl Eisenbach. I'm the newest member, I think. And so this is my second meeting.
Are you on the Springfield or the Eugene side, Carl?
I'm on Eugene, yeah.
Okay. Eric?
Hello, everyone. Eric Adams, Planning, Parks and Facilities Director at Whilamut Park and Recreation District.
Thank you. Nicholas?
I'm Nick, Eugene side, part of the Outreach Committee.
Great. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
And David, are you going to have?
Oh, yeah, David. Sorry, I forgot. Go ahead, David.
David Sonicson, Eugene, on the Government Relations Subcommittee.
Okay. All right. Did I miss anyone else? All right.
What about Sam?
You know, I have not heard from Sam. He is not on the participants list, and he did not tell me he wasn't coming, so it's possible he'll just be late. All right, let's get started with the icebreaker question. Is there anybody on this from the CPC who has not reviewed the park plan? Okay, good. So we can all answer this question. Are there any goals you are passionate about, and how can you help accomplish this goal, or more than one if you want? Vicki, why don't you start?
Sure. Well, there's a few that I would like to see. But I'm going to go with one that I think is something possible within the next year or so. And one of them is related to installing bike racks, at least maybe on the entrances to the park so people could maybe ride to the park and be able to secure their bike instead of having to use a tree or some other kind of stationary item. So I guess I would like to see on both sides, maybe a bike rack someplace around the dog park parking lot, lot 8, on the Eugene side. And maybe if there's a possibility of putting a bike rack at the Aspen Boat Launch, or maybe even in the Heron's Playground, someplace close by there, instead of having to use the a park post sign or the guy wires to one of the power poles. So I think trying to just work with our liaisons to see if that's possible for doing that. It looks like it's under the recreational access and circulation of the park. Goal number 14.2.
Okay, let's go with Sharon next.
Okay, well, I'll have to admit that I'm very new and I did read the park plan months ago, and I have not had a chance to get back to it. But overall, my interest is public education and whatever ways we can to encourage people to understand the purpose of the natural area.
Good, thank you. Terry.
I am passionate about what I see as the main underlying spirit of the park plan. And that is that the park is to be, or the natural area is to be maintained primarily for the benefit of the natural citizens of the natural area, the flora and fauna there. And to that end, I am passionate about making sure that electric vehicles do not come into the Willamette natural area. And my way to do that is going to be writing letters, contacting representatives, and being a public activist.
Thank you, great, sounds good. Let's see, Joseph, why don't you go next?
Okay. Well, the reason why I got on joined the CPC was I wanted to see the restoration project of the landfill cap and how it was being done, and to do whatever I could to facilitate getting it restored as best as possible. Totally understanding that it's a very long-term process when you have something that is that toxic. But that's the reason why I got on, and that's still my main focus, to rejuvenate that land, to make it as natural as the land around it.
Great, thank you. Nick.
Like a couple of other people said, one of my main reasons, well, actually, I don't think anyone said this, but coming from a perspective of me wanting to be in like a planning field, like a city planning field, this park is just really unique in a way where conservation and kind of passive recreation takes priority to like human-centric. And one of the things that I like to see is kind of more education within the park that kind of highlights those goals. And one of the good ways that we can do that is slower, or putting like speed limits on bikes and other non-motorized transportation vehicles just on the kiosks.
Okay, thank you. Carl.
Yes. Well, I'd like to speak about revisions to the park plan and inventories for the park plan at a later time.
Okay, so did you review the park plan? And
I did, but not as thoroughly as I'd like to.
oh, I see. Okay, thank you. Meredith.
Can you repeat the question?
I
Sorry, I
I
was.
sure can, yes. So it says, review the park plan. Are there any goals you are passionate about? How can you help accomplish this goal?
Yeah, I also need to refresh a little bit on the park plan. However, I think that some aspects of the natural area that I am passionate about include, as others have said, coexistence of cyclists and other kinds of recreation as my primary use of the area personally is cycling, and I go through there on my commute to U of O pretty frequently. So yeah, thinking about that coexistence. And I'm also interested in habitat restoration, as well as thinking about how we can honor the area as not just a natural area, but a cultural system and the history there and how people interact with it. So yeah, my graduate work is related to partnerships between Native and non-Native people in land management. So I am interested in how we can work with Kalapuya folks better in this way. And so yeah, all of those things.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll go last. I joined the CPC originally because I was really interested in the talking stones. And I am also very interested in habitat restoration. So one of the biggest things about the park plan that drew me in was the initial paragraph that said, this plan is different from most that you'll see, which is that instead of making the park and molding it to the needs of humans, we're going to actually allow the land to draw us in and to guide us as to the use. So my focus really for the CPC and my passion is about bringing cultural awareness to the Kalapuya and the talking stones, as well as doing habitat restoration that coincides with that same honoring of the land that the original inhabitants did. So
I think there's one more member that's on the phone here.
yeah, and David, are you there?
Yes, I'd like to provide some context to show how the plan has worked. This is a very rich document. This is our Constitution. This is a moral charter. And one way the land has been allowed to repair itself happened, if you look at page 19, goal 11, there used to be a hammer throw field in the Whilamut natural area. I won't go into detail about how it got there, but it called for its removal. It was removed. Objects weighing from 9 pounds to 16 pounds stopped, raining from the sky and pummeling the land. And it's in a very beautiful part of the park near the intersection of Day Island Road and the Alton Path. There used to be a big cage with wire mesh protecting hammers that were thrown and that slipped out of someone's hand erroneously. These are big wire attached balls with a handle at the other end that people swirl around and release. It's an Olympic event. There's a hammer throw field just to the south of Hayward Field now. And at a time when that area wasn't used as much as it is now, there was granted a hammer throw exception. So for a long time, people used it for that. And there was a little parking area too, plus a building that housed some of the hammers and some of the cleanup. All that through negotiation has been long gone, and without a natural area and this wonderful document we have, it would still be there.
That's a really good point. Thank you, David, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, let's go to the next item. I just want to make one agenda, well, two adjustments. First of all, I want to ask that we give Fraser the floor for the first park report, since he is the host organization. And then also, I would like, if nobody objects, to have the parks reports come right after our public comment, so that the people that need to go can go early. Does anybody object to that?
No objection.
Okay. All right, good. All right, let's do the any other adjustments anybody else wants to make to the agenda? David?
No.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the minutes for July. Has everybody read the minutes? All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as distributed in the email for this meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Okay. I hear 3, 4,
Aye.
5, 6. Okay, good. Nick, you're the only one I can't see and you're muted, so.
I approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, it looks like we're all in favor, so that motion has been approved unanimously. Okay, let's move to public comment. Bill, you usually go first, and then maybe we'll have Paul, or do you want to give Paul the first chance?
I'll go first.
Okay, you're on.
All right.
Paul? Paul?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna turn the video off because it's kind of flashing here on me.
Yeah, it's definitely having trouble.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So here we go. So the public comments, well, thank you for Jesse and others letting me come in. And I've been wanting to basically just get in touch with what's going on down there with the CPC. I've read the plan and you know, it's all very nice and kind of like almost as old as I am. But you know, this is good work, and we just we meaning Harlow up here, we want to be part of it if we haven't been you know, part of it to date. But the main thing for me, public comment wise, is we're real interested in seeing what's going on in a historical context with parks in our, I guess, little place on the earth here, little parcel. We've been really kind of trying to, how best to say, our goal is to have a park plan for Chase Commons Park over there, you know, on the other side of MLK. And, you know, it's, there's history there. We just can't get at it, okay? And we really want to basically rank stakeholders, with, of course, with First Nations and, you know, Aboriginal people and tribes being given priority. But we just need some information as to what the history is out here. And that is the main reason that I'm here. Let's see, what do I have, 2 minutes or so, or
Yeah, 2 minutes.
so we would like to come up with a project plan for Chase Commons, but we would like to make sure that it's in congruence with whatever's going on down there at CPC. Okay, and I'll just tell you that you got my heart and soul, because I'm a water person and I'm passionate about running and wild white water. So I'll leave it at that and try to listen in and assimilate with you folks best I can.
Great, thank you. Well, I can touch base with you regarding where to direct you for some resources, Paul. If you, or you can contact, or you can go through Jesse, whichever you prefer. Were you thinking, did you originally contact Jesse? You're muted. Jesse, was it you? Were you
Yes.
the original?
Yeah, Jesse extended me the the invitation.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I'd just like to fit in best we can, and however we can help out. We have a small group of volunteers that have helped in the past with river cleanup and land cleanup for that matter. And I can just tell you that I've had some past professional experience with landfills and caps. I used to work for the contractor out Oak Ridge National Laboratories. We buried a lot of nuclear stuff out there.
Oh,
So,
good. That's good to know. Great. Well, Jesse, if you can pass along my information, I'll be happy to start a dialogue.
Yeah, Paul, I'll just, say, I know we just kind of, you kind of came at this with the angle of just kind of want to connect with this group. But I think if you want to, talk with me about, things specifically related to Chase Commons, I certainly can help you with getting you to the right folks in our organization to talk about that side as well. So.
Yeah, I'm coming at you guys from a historical context. I'd like to know what, who lived there, what happened there, 50, 100, 200 years ago, and why is it the barren wasteland that it is today?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Bill, you're up next.
Well, it was sure nice to see the park green up a little bit early this year in September when the rains came. A couple of things on Jesse's report that will come up next. We wires around some more trees because of the beavers. Keep an eye out, please, for the big new family of nutria. Beth may have seen the pictures on Facebook I had of a big nutria family that has a like for maple trees, and the maples are getting stripped between the pond and I-5. So that's one to add to the list there. When spraying for the low-lying blackberries, there's a section of the natural area that gets missed sometimes. It's north of the Canoe Canal, west of I-5. It's that little triangle. There's a nice apple tree in the middle of it, and to get out there, the low-lying blackberries are grabbing at my feet and others. I'm not sure that this other one is a natural area problem, but sometime in the last 3 weeks, large truck while I was away on one of my trips northeast of the Knickerbocker Bridge, between Priest Trail and I-5, underneath the electrical towers, if that locates where it is, looks like they were removing wood that had been taken down before, and maybe blackberries from below the big tower, and they put monster gouges in the dirt that aren't going to self-repair. And I don't know whether that was ODOT or who did the work, and I'm not positive that area is the natural area between Priest Trail and the I-5 slope, but it's not going to repair itself. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And thanks for putting up those pictures. Appreciate it. Okay, is there any other public comment anybody knows about? All right. Moving on.
About the landfill. It is not capped, unfortunately. A landfill cap consists of clay soil so that runoff will run off instead of penetrate. landfill was covered by whatever soil the county could get. And that resulted in a lot of water penetrating from the sky, going into the landfill and then out underground, killing most of the trees on the north bank. And there are still places where a lot of water gets in, and that's why if you've ever tried to walk across the landfill, it's kind of hummocky under the grass because the various levels of penetration of water has resculpted it. And it's important because if a golf course had been built on top of the landfill, the watering of the golf course would have further exacerbated water flowing through and leachate coming out into the Willamette.
Mickey, David, are you done or did we lose you?
Done.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay, good. That's good to know. I'd kind of like to explore more about that another time, maybe during a habitat meeting or something. Okay. I think let's move on. Unless somebody has anything else, let's move on to reports. I'd like to get Beth in for Nearby Nature first.
Great. I'm not sure if you all were able to get a copy of the report that I sent out. Laurel, do you know if people got a copy of it or?
I did, and I saw that it was copied to our members. So I'm
Okay.
assuming that, yeah, we
Okay.
got it. Whether or not it was read, another
Okay,
question.
yeah, I'll hit on the main points. I won't, never read it word for word, but I'll try to
Great.
keep it
Thank you.
short. This is myself and Will Orr, our park host, various highlights since the last CPC meeting. Let's see, in terms of park host site, Will is just reporting we have a couple of new land stewards, which is what we call our interns who help with restoration and park caretaking, as well as our landscape garden. We've got a couple of them helping out, and they've been doing litter pickup, pulling some invasives, projects around the landscape. They're pretty great. We also, and was not mentioned here, but we are starting again to work with a group of students from the Rachel Carson High School at Churchill. They come out once every, I think they're kind of come out a couple times a month maybe, and they come with their teacher, and it's part of their curriculum. And they did a whole bunch of ivy pulling apparently the other day, enough so that Will had about 3 hours of cleanup after their work party on the day they came. So they're hopefully going to be out in the park, and it's not. It's nice to engage with them because they're, high school students who might be, learning about restoration and public parks, and could end up being volunteers someday. And it's nice. We've been working with them for a number of years. Let's see. Will said that he thought illegal camping had decreased as it's gotten colder, as well as graffiti seems to be on the decline as the weather has gotten finally more rainy and chillier. We have put up, in terms of rainy and chilly weather, we got a new awning for a space in our Learnscape over our what we call our star stage. So now we have 2 covered areas potentially for programs that we do in the actual Learnscape space, which is really nice. We have a little free library. So anybody who's noticed, anybody who's walked past the park host house in the last month or so, one of the wonderful volunteers who helped us create our new office likes to build little free libraries. And he said, do you guys want a little free library? And I checked in with the city folks, and they're like, cool, it sounds great. So we've got a little free library. We have books that we're putting in, but it's going pretty quickly. So if any of you have any, even older natural history books, anything sort of nature-ish that you don't need or want anymore, we would love your contributions. And you can either put them in or you can bring them to the office. And so we can sort of parse them out as spaces as refills are needed, but it's nice. Lots of people do stop by and check that out. It's also another good place, I think, that we'll ultimately be able to put things like the Calapooya brochure, things about the park, so that people, when they go there, can pick up information about the park as well as nature books. Let's see, what else is going on? Yeah, we've got some, like I said, the volunteers and interns have been doing a variety of starting the invasive pulling for the fall and winter. Will did say, watch for downed trees and branches after the high winds on October 24 and 25. There are some places where there are things that are downed that haven't necessarily been cleaned yet. A couple of other, let's see, program updates. I just wanted to mention the nutrias. We also have unwelcome nutria friends not visiting our garden. And so we do have an active nutria removal project that goes on occasionally. When they come in, they start to wipe out all the things in the edible schoolyard, as we call it. I don't know how they find us, but there seems to be a lot of them. So in terms of program updates, we had, this is just going back to summer, we had a record number of kids in the summer camps this summer, which was awesome. So lots of people getting their kids out in the park, outdoors, healthy, fun, educational programs. Really great. We did not have any COVID outbreaks, which was, I felt like was a huge victory. So that was great. And we had a lot of different grants that help support those programs. One from the Oregon Community Foundation, one from the 4J, another from, what was the third one from? Oregon Community Foundation. I'll think of it in a minute here. Oh, the state of Oregon. So lots of great funding. And I just got through, I'm just working through the final part of a grant from 4J, which is allowing us to refund all of the fees that 4J families paid for summer day camps this year. Refund, or they can get a credit, or they can make a donation. And in this process, we have gotten about $12,000 worth of donations and about $9,000 worth of credits for future programs that are happening. And those families were incredibly generous, plus about $30-some thousand worth of refunds going back to 4J families so that they didn't actually even have to pay for their camps this summer. So great. Thanks to the 4J school system for making that possible. Really nice. Some upcoming projects this Sunday. Actually, Nearby Nature is partnering with the Eugene Springfield NAACP to do a park cleanup from 9 to noon, starting at the Science Factory or the Science Center. And there is a sign up on our website. It's through Solve, so it's NAACP, Solve, and Nearby Nature. And we are asking people to register in advance, but we'd love to have some CPC folks come and join that event. And so just look on our website for the Solve sign up. We also have some other cool events coming up soon. We're not doing any regular field trips right now because the schools are still not allowing for park field trips. So this is our fourth season of not having thousands of kids in the park, and it's breaking my heart. I'm hoping that by next spring we'll be allowed to have field trips and more kids in the park again. I think that's probably going to happen, but it's going to take a while for us to rebuild. So, I mean, Vicky's been a volunteer for years. We're going to be looking for new guides and people to get involved. Usually we have a lot of turnover of young people, and all that turnover happened a couple of years ago. We have to completely start new with our new college students. So hopefully that'll happen. We really do miss having the kids in the park. We are doing after school programs and a preschool program that are happening during the day still. So if you know any kids who are anywhere between 4 and 10 who need after school care, either on Monday or Friday, or want to send their preschoolers to hang out with me for 4 hours on Wednesday afternoons, we need kids. We're sort of low on kids right now. Couple other things. Let's see. The network charter school students are back in session now, so they're using the yurt again, and they're back in the park, which is great. We've missed having them for the last year. And we did have the haunted hike last weekend. It was toned down a little bit, about half the normal attendees, because we needed to make sure that people were safe, but we had 250 plus families and a beautiful little spot of no rain between like 2 and 10 on Saturday, where we were able to hold our event, and have our costumed critters in the park, and the tents didn't blow away. It was wonderful. Vicky was there helping out. 25th annual, I can't believe it. I've been at every one of them. Can't believe we've been around that long. Let's see, one other thing I was gonna say. Oh, this is an exciting project, which hopefully we're gonna get started on soon. One of the grants we got this summer was from the Oregon Community Foundation. And I built into that a project where in our Learnscape, we're going to have a series of signs that will have Kalapuya, Spanish, and English words. And it might be as simple as fern, or a color, or, tree, or maybe specific names if we have those for those things. But we're going to create these signs. They're going to be probably wooden and movable, but permanent, so that we can move them around and use them for projects and for events, and again be helping to share that cultural part of the space that is Kalapuya, and also Spanish words. That's really exciting. We're also going to have a mural, and I'm hoping to get them to let me extend my money a little further than this fall, but we All Belong mural. And that came out of, we had for a while a Black Lives Matter sign up at Nearby Nature, and it was concluded that wasn't appropriate in the public park as a political sign, but we wanted to get somehow we wanted to get across the idea that we wanted to support the idea that everybody belongs in the park and is welcome. So we're going to have a mural painted probably on the front of our office, where there are now some of our stencils, and I'm working on getting that to happen sometime in the next 5 to 6 months or so. So lots of cool things going on. Any questions from anybody? Oh, and also I would like to, at some point, I don't know if I can stick around long enough, but I'd love to know where the Kalapuya committee is on working on that brochure, whether that's going to happen at some point. Happy to help in whatever way is possible with that, but I know it kind of got a little stalled.
Yeah, we're going to do an update on that a little bit later in the meeting.
If I miss it, I'll call you, Laurel, just to get maybe the update, because I have a friend who's visiting this evening and I need to not be here for the whole meeting. But does anybody have any other questions for me or for Nearby Nature? And also Harlow, Mr.
Paul.
I just wanted to let you know that we would love to work with your group also. We have worked with you in the past to do some joint work parties in the park. If you wanted to do a restoration work party or a trash pickup or something and have some of your folks connect with us, we would be more than happy to host that. So you feel free to contact me at Nearby Nature.
I was just going to ask you when your next meeting is. I have correspondence going all the way back to Paul Catino. And so I'm just trying to get updated here.
Yeah.
But essentially, we'll come to the next meeting if you can tell us what it is, or if it's Zoom or
we don't have meetings per se, but we would love to have you come over. I'd love to have you come over and meet my new park host, Will Orr. And so why don't we just get in touch and figure out a way to have a meeting and check in and see what's possible.
Yeah, I'm in touch with Kelsey Irvine as well. So and Jesse. So
okay.
Let's see if we can kind of tie things up here and not just bring it all to the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Thanks.
Any other questions?
I was just going to say, I looked on my email and I didn't receive your report. So I'm wondering if there was something got stuck somewhere, but I'll have it. Maybe Laurel can
I just sent it to Laurel and Fraser because I figured that I don't have everybody's emails. So I figured one of them would send it out. So maybe that still needs to happen.
Good to know.
Great. Okay. We should probably move on.
Thank you.
Getting short on time. Thank you so much, Beth. Okay, Fraser.
Great. Beth, I will make sure we send out your minutes tomorrow morning to all the members so that they can look over your notes and have access to your updates.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And sorry we didn't do that ahead of time.
That's okay. No problem.
Awesome. I won't spend too much time reading our report other than to say we've had a really good last quarter. We've been able to utilize the Willamette River Festival to bring in some volunteers, additional folks in. Vicki and Laurel and Sharon joined us to table at that event. And it's been exciting to see people get engaged. We've hosted a couple of smaller volunteer events that have been fairly well attended and allowed us to get some really great work done. We're continuing to prioritize trying to remove as much English ivy from the park natural area as we can. To that end, we've hired some private contractors. We've been trying to open up corridors and are going to continue to try and work with volunteer staff and contractors to continue that work. There was one slight error in my update. And if you look at bullet 9, it says several large trees came down in the natural. That should have been natural area. And something important to note about that is I actually had this reported to us by our new park ranger, Alan Klein. And those trees that came down happened to come down in one of the areas that has long been a trouble spot for us with illicit camping. And so in most cases, I have been trying to remove I've been trying to remove a lot of the dead debris versus just pushing it into the natural area. And in this case, we are planning to leave a lot of that debris there to try and minimize people's willingness to go back into those areas and use them for camping. So that's really the majority of my updates. I think the one big thing that I do want to share with the committee is that there was some extra funding left over from our work at Aspen Street to improve that parking lot. And we're going to be meeting to review how much is actually left and going to come up with some plans to try and do some more beautification around Aspen. So expect to see some new plantings, but I will plan to touch base with the committee as we identify what that budget looks like and really kind of hone in on what our scope of work will look like. And I'm happy to answer any questions if folks have any.
Well, I guess I just want to say, I noticed that there was a lot of camping this summer down underneath the I-5 bridge, but went by there a couple weeks ago and we were gone. And I think that's a good thing because essentially it looked like things were getting a little bit, I guess, unregulated out there. And I'm not sure how that happened, but I did tell Kelsey that we did appreciate it that those folks were relocated to hopefully a better place.
Thanks for noting that, Paul. Yeah, that was a really unfortunate eyesore to see throughout the summer. ODOT was thankfully able to contract with Northwest Hazmat to get that cleaned up. It actually coincided with a day that we had the Willamette River cleanup. And so lo and behold, a volunteer and I walked all the way down there expecting to, be pulling out another truckload worth of garbage. And we were very pleasantly surprised at what we saw. So we're really appreciative to ODOT for taking care of that. With that, I'll pass it over to Jesse if there aren't any other questions.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse.
Okay, so lots going on as usual on the City of Eugene's side. I think about some things possibly to highlight here. I know that my staff, which is kind of the first portion of work on that report, we kind of do the on the ground maintenance of the area, are trying to get something set up to work with Laurel around, and it sounds like we've got a plan in place around the log placement coming up for this coming Tuesday, and as well as doing some planning for the new planting pods, which I'm very excited about. I think we've all been waiting for that project to finally get kicked off. So hope that CPC Habitat Subcommittee members and others who are interested in taking part in helping to do some more shrub pod plantings get involved with that project. Let's see. I highlighted a couple of park rules proposals that we are trying to work through our system. Several of our proposals got delayed kind of during the COVID pandemic, but we're hoping to add to that the list of things we'd like to improve about our park rules. The first one would disallow motorized watercraft in the Canoe Canal. We've definitely had some complaints about some of the folks who are living along that stretch of the Canoe Canal who have kind of pleasure craft, as you might say, motorized boats and the like. And we never had anything formal in park rules related to that. So we're going to work on that. The second one is kind of around some of the issues we're having with these one-wheel devices and other other types of mobility devices in places where bikes aren't otherwise allowed. And I know that we're also trying to work through the whole rules process around e-bikes and e-scooters. And this is kind of separate from that. It's kind of the low-hanging fruit of the, hey, there's all these new devices that people are running around in, and they're, potentially running off-road and on jogging trails and all sorts of other things too. So trying to work on that piece of it, because it's something that I don't think, is like I said, this low-hanging fruit. I think most would agree that it needs to be done. Let's see here. Pre's lighting, which is happening outside of the Whilamut, but there's been a big project to replace lighting on a section of the Pre's trail, which got delayed because of supply chain issues. We have all heard this term as part of the whole COVID pandemic thing, and so we've had some delays on that project. I think they're finally starting to get some lights up there, but obviously way late. The plan was to have it done by the end of August, and there are a lot of people who are trying to walk to and from football games on Pre's Trail that are doing so in pitch black. So not ideal from a parks safety perspective. Let's see here. I think I already mentioned the volunteer projects. Then there's a piece from Reagan Watches, who kind of provided an update on the rest stop stuff, the CSS rest stop. Just for folks, I know that I got some inquiries from a couple of the CPC members about some of the issues we're having adjacent to the CSS rest stop site, near the Walnut Road gate, having camping issues. There's a car camper that's been there with a trailer for going on 2 months after the city of Eugene promised that we would try to make sure that we didn't have the CSS rest stop become kind of a magnet for other camping issues. And of course, anyone who's spent time around the Whilamut knows that lot 9 has had problems with camping for quite a while, but for a while there, we were doing pretty good, and we really have had a very difficult time as an organization trying to deal with the surge of car camping in the community, and in developing a strategy for how we're going to deal with this and a process for dealing with this, and where people can go, and all of that. It's just taken a long time for the city to try to get its feet about this. And so we're very aware of some issues that are happening there, and had a lot of conversation about this issue. But I just want to let everyone know that we are having a difficult time. I've redoubled my efforts to try to make it to deal with the issue. I think there's a bike chop shop running out of the back of one of those trailers. So very concerned about it, and we're hoping to get that dealt with very soon. I guess the last thing I'll say is I didn't make it in my report, but our Canoe Canal gate replacement project at Aspen Street has also been delayed with supply chain issues. I'm not sure if we're going to get the project done this winter or not. Obviously, when the river level starts getting higher, it starts presenting issues in terms of our ability to do things that affect like replacing the gate that controls water levels in the Canoe Canal. So stay tuned. I'll try to let people know if I hear that we're going to be able to get that project done this winter. But the last thing we want to do is pull the gate and then have high river levels and not be able to control water level in the Canoe Canal. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jesse.
Yep.
I have a couple of questions, Jesse.
Okay.
One, in your report, it says the leaning cabinet might not be replaced this year. Is that is there, I wonder if you could speak more about that.
I think similar issues. It sounds like we're having a hard time getting a hold of the materials for it. So we've just been delayed in that project. It's coming out very expensive. The bid we got for the cabinet part, that's because the things are hard to come by. We're hoping that we're going to be able to work around that and make it happen. But I don't have anything more than that right now. So the intention still is to get that project done.
Okay, so sometime in the future, okay.
Yep.
And the other thing is, and I think I brought it up to you in an email, I was wondering if you could just speak a little bit about the article in the Register Guard about Park Ambassador, and if there's, what has been determined where there had been some allegations about some behavioral issues and all. And I know they cover the whole park, but I guess wondering if you could just.
Vicki, I'm not a parks spokesperson, and they probably don't want me to be speaking on these kind of issues. It could actually be a legal issue. So I prefer not to talk about it. I think I gave you some information, which you're welcome to share with the CPC. The City of Eugene conducted an investigation. We believe it was completely unfounded, the allegations that were made in the paper. And that's all I'll say.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question then.
I
to
have a
follow up
comment.
on
if you don't mind. Just
Vicky.
speak now.
Oh, wait, is David saying something?
No.
No, okay.
That was me.
So-
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Jesse, what can you maybe provide us with a resource for that type of communication moving forward? Because I still have a few questions. I understand that the city is probably a little sensitive about it, but my concern about this particular person still remains. So is there someone else that we might be able to address that question with? Who
Yeah, I'm happy to forward the CPC on to Parks and Open Spaces Communications, Community Outreach and Engagement Manager.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Paul, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to let Jesse know that we're very in touch with what's going on down there at Lot 9 and at Chase Commons and the various folks that are moving back and forth there. I just want you to know that we've offered to on a volunteer basis to help out at Lot 9, and we have not gotten any feedback from CSS at this time.
Okay.
That offer still remains, and we are obviously in touch with Regan with respect to what's going on, what the plan is at Chase Commons, because we basically see that Chase Commons, any development there of a Conestoga Hut colony or whatever you want to call it, it would be a natural extension of Lot 9. So, we're not going to be very, anxious to plan anything until Lot 9 is successful and completely filled up. Just FYI.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a chance to see? I think I forwarded you her Reagan's comments regarding Lot 9. Did you have a chance to see that, Paul?
Yeah, I talked to Reagan.
Okay.
As regularly as
Good.
she has time
Good.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
All
Jesse,
right.
I had a question on
ahead.
your planting project for Tuesday. What's the schedule on that? Is that this?
We will be meeting with Kelsey and I think Lori Holtz possibly might be there. And then one of their staff will be out. I'm gonna meet out with them to establish where the logs are gonna go behind Eliu.
Right.
And also the Rachel Carson group is going to be out in the afternoon. So it'll be 1 to 4, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. 1 to 4.
It was in an email, but I'll refresh that and send everybody a reminder about it, Joseph.
Okay. Thank you. I want to know where to meet you guys. Okay.
Yeah. And I still have to kind of iron that out with Kelsey as well. I'm pretty sure we're going to be meeting over by the Fromeyer Bridge, but I'm not sure if she's nailed that down yet. So I'll keep you in the loop.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. Can we move on to the subcommittee reports? Do you want to start with, Vicky, do you want to start with government relations, or should I start with the talking stones?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Why don't we start with government relations? Because the brochure might be, there might be a few questions on that one.
Oh, well, I don't have much other than what I had sent out. We just had worked on a few things kind of similar to what we had in July, getting prepared. If we ever do, there is a work session related to the e-scooters. I haven't heard back from Rob at all if there is a city council work session, and I'm hoping that we're still in the loop on that. Just I don't know if there's any questions on the report that I sent out, that I think Laurel had sent out with the other subcommittee reports.
Okay, any questions going once?
I'd like to add something
Oh,
regarding
okay. Go
the
ahead.
government relations report.
Go ahead, David.
We've had 2 meetings in person at Nearby Nature outside, and I think all of us enjoyed seeing each other in person, socially distanced, and those were great when the weather was more conducive to that. But I would just like to advocate for all of us considering having our next CPC meeting in person if we can do it, finding a location inside that might be bigger perhaps than the float room. But if COVID levels continue to drop, and we'll have some data on that possibility between now and January, then it would be great to see everybody in one room in real time. And on the thing that Vicki Mello and I have been doing for many years, monitoring the impact of crowds on the park when football games occur, it's really a very interesting process. We walk around and make note of certain things where people and vehicles mass, and it's such an amazing contrast to come from the natural area, see tens of thousands of people flowing through the park and the effect it has on the natural area, from people taking selfies off the trail south of the stadium with the O in the background to many other things. But it's really encouraging to note that there are fewer people. If you haven't seen it before, it's still a very intensive use, but there just aren't as many people in places like the main University of Oregon parking lot north of Leo Harris Parkway as there were in the pre-pandemic times. It's very notably lessened. That's it.
It's interesting. Well, yes, I would advocate for in-person also, if we can make it happen. I think most of us would prefer it.
Could I just say that if you ever, I mean, this probably would be better to do when it's, you know, the weather's really good, but we do have our yurt, and I'm just looking at, like, there are now, let's see, 15 people, 12, 13, 14, 15 people. Yurt probably might not be comfortable big enough, COVID wise. You could certainly all sit in there, but if they were nice, if the day were nice, you could meet in the Learnscape sometime. I think that would be really great, because you'd all be out in the park and you could see what we're doing, and, you know, Nearby Nature folks could drop in personally. But I think that's just sort of an invite out there. If we, you know, thought ahead to when the weather was nicer, that could be really fun, more fun than sitting in one of the sort of boring, dull, plain rooms that, you know, aren't too inspiring.
That's a good idea. Thank you, Beth. Okay, anything for government relations? Going once, going twice.
Paul's got his hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess my question's a little bit oblique. What is the outreach to the University of Oregon? And is there any University of Oregon representatives here tonight?
No.
Basically, that's the one of the main channels that I'm trying to nurture here. And I would like to reach out to whoever is involved with bringing the youth, if you will, of our neighborhood in touch with, you know, volunteering and you know, just some of these more well, I guess good efforts that are going on a non-corporate basis. So
Nearby Nature definitely works with U of O students all the time.
okay,
We have
maybe
always have volunteers from U of O,
Maybe-
depending time of the year, doing all sorts of different things.
maybe we could share some notes at the next get together.
Well, I
Thank
know the U of O also has some of their botany classes, some of their environmental study classes. They do use the park quite a bit for both in for all year long in the classes. So there's some connection there. But yeah, we do not have a U of O representative on the CPC at this time. We have had other members of the university community have been members previously, but there aren't any right now.
Okay, I'm just saying that's one of my great interests here. So
All right, thank you. All right, we better move on here, guys, or we're gonna be here till 8. Okay, Talking Stone Subcommittee report. The Lock Me boulders. I've been working with Fraser to find out what we'll be doing with that. That's still an ongoing plan. Apologies, my son just needed to interrupt. Okay, so we did have the Sheldon Youth Group working on our Talking Stones over the summer. We were asked to have a member of the CPC organize and do that Talking Stones tour. And so I did that every week in August. The kids are really interested and very engaged in that program. And so it was really interesting to see them getting involved with it and really participating in the cleanup and doing some weeding and some mulching around 4 Talking Stones that were on the Eugene side. And I'm looking forward to doing that again with Ray Cole next year. If they still have the program going, that'll be very interesting. We probably will have some students coming back as well as some of the younger students graduating who will be able to also host some of our tours. So that's a really exciting opportunity. The graffiti removal on Haidoa has been a challenge, as it usually is, but in this case, somebody is out there with a permanent marker. Fortunately, they're using a green one, so it's not, kind of blends in a little bit with the natural environment. But for people who are interested in maintaining the Talking Stones, we could always use some more help. Terry and I have been out there several times to remove graffiti and to do some weeding around the Talking Stones and so forth. And it's an ever-going, it's an ongoing project that we, we try to keep up with, but more hands is always appreciated. The brochure content, right now we have the brochure content for the Talking Stones has been approved by the subcommittee. I've had no further revisions from the full committee for 2 weeks. So that deadline has passed, although we may have opportunities once Esther reviews and makes her final approval for it. And it'll come back to our committee, and then we'll be able to send that over to Alyssa and Jesse for the city's final approval, and then it'll go to publication. We're excited about that. And Fraser, I have a couple of pictures that I wanted to share with you, which is Esther doing the ceremonies. We found a couple that were really good that we'd like to go on the kiosk. Is it too late to do that?
I'm not sure, but I think it might not be. Last I checked, there were going to be some other additional revisions and there was a slight delay. So if you don't mind sending those to me, I would love to see what I can do about getting them included.
Okay, great. That sounds good. And we'll probably put those on the brochure as well, because they are very iconic photos of her involved in that ceremony, which is really unusual. We unearthed them after looking for months. So I'm really grateful that we had somebody, dedicated to that. So that's all I have. Are there any questions about that or comments? Anybody have any input? No. Okay.
Laurel, I just put this in, I was gonna put this in the chat, but since I have to
yeah.
leave, would you mind could I get a chance to look at the brochure before it goes to publication?
Sure.
Would that be okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that before I send it over to Esther or after? What's your preference?
Why don't you just give it to me before? Because Esther needs to be the final,
Right.
If I had anything to say, it'd be good to put it in before she, I'm sure it's great, but I'd just love to see it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, you could just email it to me.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Okay, sure. Anyone else? Okay, good. Moving on to habitat. So with habitat, Kelsey's been working with me on some native plants for the ILU project, and also the shrub pod planting, which we've already mentioned on the second. That will be, for me, that's going to be an all-day event. So anybody that comes over to the ILU area is likely to see me over there. So if you wanted to come early, or if you want to, be involved in the log project, your input is welcome for that. We're working to make sure that the new plantings that we put in last year are still viable. Some of them really struggled with the summer heat, but some of them have maintained, some of them have been stolen. So we're just going to work on trying to keep what we're planting viable, and that we can always use more hands with that. We're going to be planting some more trees and shrubs coming up in about 2 weeks. I will make sure that, I will make sure all the CPC members are involved in that communication loop. And then let's see, we're going to be starting again our effort to remove some of the false brome that's out there and the other invasives in Eastgate. I'll be sending some emails out requesting for some extra hands to help us take out English ivy, false brome. Nobody will be asked to remove poison oak, but that is something that we need to be aware of because some of these areas have poison oak intermixed with some of these invasives. Anybody that goes out to the Eastgate Woodlands sign and sees a wood chip pile there, do your best not to get too involved with it. Don't touch it or anything. It's got poison oak in it that we didn't know about. So if you can help out with plantings or you're interested in removing some invasives, get in touch with me and I will be happy to put you to work. That's all I got for that.
I have a question on
Sure,
Tuesday.
go ahead.
Well, what time does that start?
1 to 4 is the Rachel Carson group.
So
Huh?
I thought there was something starting at 10. Is that no longer?
That's me meeting with Kelsey and someone from Kelsey's crew about the logs around Elu.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do that early in the morning and then I'll be switching over to the pod planting in the afternoon. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I guess we'll go to outreach. Nick, do you have anything to tell us about that?
Yeah, so usually Ruth would be the one to report on this, but she couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But she did contact me about kind of any additions, and I was extremely late on the response. So I apologize for that. So basically, the status of, or not the status, but the our Facebook page and all that is working extremely slowly. I have not been able to contribute onto the page as much as I would like to. I just through like my my life, it's like from our last quarter to this quarter, it's been super busy. But on that note, I would like to add a new email that y'all could contact me with. I'll be on that one a lot more frequently than the one that I'm using right now. So I'll send an email on that after this meeting. But Ruth basically stated, let me get back to that email here. She's been pretty busy with working and studying, and so not much progress has happened on her end, and we haven't really been coordinating too often. But this quarter, I would like to have that changed.
Nick, if I
Yeah.
could just interject for a moment, I would like to get you and Sharon together. I believe Sharon has mentioned her interest in providing some content, and maybe that would help with your efforts to get that Facebook page a little bit more current. Is that something you're interested in?
Very much so, yeah.
Sharon, you still?
Yeah, I've talked with Ruth and she was reaching out to Nicholas so that we could go forward and then mentioned that she hadn't heard back and that she's been very busy at the museum through October, but we're hoping when we're both back in town, kind of the second week of November or so, that we'll know how to be able to get to the Facebook page and such and move forward.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, and I can provide you, Sharon, with the access to the page.
Okay,
Yeah, and yeah.
that'd be great.
Yes, I'll. So on top of that, I do. Since we haven't really been moving forward with it. We still have the general goals of working with Nearby Nature and Beth. Remember, we talked much earlier in the year about your posts that you've made previously, or scheduled, and I'd like to connect with you with that. And I saw your chat comment, so yeah, I'd like to be in contact with you pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll move forward and have a more to report for this next quarter.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so that's all of our subcommittee reports. I would like to go back to items 6 and 7 on the agenda. We want to do, we've been talking about this for a while on the CPC. It's never really materialized, but in the background, Vicki and I and some other people, individual members over the years, have mentioned a desire to go over our bylaws and do a review and do some updates to our bylaws to be more current and to address some of the issues that the past few years have presented to the CPC. So I would really like to get some other people involved in that effort. If people are interested in reviewing the bylaws and helping us to update them and do some content review, it would be really, really appreciated. The question I have is, how do CPC members feel about this? Do you want to form a subcommittee, which is possible? We could do an ad hoc committee, or we can just work on it as the executive committee, you know, depending on how many people are really interested in taking that project up. So I think, Vicky, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I think it would be good to do it as an ad hoc subcommittee, and I think just focusing on that, and that way the executive committee can look at other bigger issues. But I think that would be good to hear if there is any interest of any members that would be willing to carve out some time, because it is a matter of, maybe starting every 2-week meeting to set some goals and then move along. And I think it would be great, whether you're a seasoned member or brand new. I think all perspectives are really important. And I think it's, we all need to read from, from your own perspective. And I think it would be helpful. So I'd encourage as many people as possible to want to get involved. But
Okay.
we also have the next one, with the park plan. So I think the two of those would probably still stay separate myself.
Yeah. Okay. Sharon, how are you feeling about the bylaw review? Sharon.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was unmuting and such. That sort of thing never appeals to me.
Okay.
But to be honest, in terms of, making certain all of that makes sense, but if somebody's needed, I can do that.
Nick, how are you feeling about it?
About bylaw reviews.
Yep.
Um,
Is that something
It's,
that you would want to participate in, or do you think we should have an ad hoc committee, or what's your perspective?
Since we do have new members, and I could always appreciate the refresher. I would be up to spending some time on reviewing the bylaws.
Okay, great.
How long has
Jerry?
it been, did you say, since the last review?
Well, we've had a couple additions to it in the last 2 years, so it's been reviewed, but not really significantly updated.
And the impetus for this is?
It's outdated. It doesn't address a few of the things that have come up on our committee over the last few years, so it's due.
Uh-huh.
Laurel, is there a copy available online that we can review? We just did something like this with a ski patrol, and we've gone through it many times, and we put together a Google Doc that was editable, and each of us had a color. And so we put in our edits in a specific color to show who was doing suggested edits.
Right.
And then we use those to finalize it later on. But if we had a document that we could access and look at and then make suggestions to the committee, that might help things move along faster.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I don't want to get into the actual process yet. I'm more just kind of looking for guidance about, whether our committee feels like we should form this as an ad hoc committee to review it, or if we just all want to be involved little bits at a time. Or I'm thinking that an ad hoc committee with review by the final committee would be the best way to go. That's kind of how I'm leaning. What about you, Terry? Terry, are you there?
Yes, yeah, I'm here. It just took me a minute to get unmuted.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it would be good to review the park plan, and I'm up for that.
Well, this would
Whether-
be the bylaws.
Yeah,
So you want to be involved in the bylaws?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Meredith.
I'm definitely interested, but I'm super swamped and having a tough term with work right now. So I'm trying not to take on anything additional until the new year. But if the timeline is long enough that the new year is still a good time to get involved, then I'm very interested.
Okay, good. Sharon, go ahead.
Sorry, and not to be difficult, but given that you've said part of it is identifying that things are not working, at this point, having been on all of 3 months, I don't know how readily I would identify those things. I'd certainly be happy as part of the whole committee to review it then at the end and see if it all makes sense, but yeah.
Well, one of the things that I believe is a struggle is when we had, a lot of these issues have been raised by people who've been on and off the CPC for years. So fresh eyes are definitely, a real benefit. We're looking at that as a benefit right now. So,
Okay.
Carl, your thoughts?
I think you're still muted, Carl.
Still muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, we got you.
Oh, you muted yourself again. There you go.
Okay, I'm online.
There you go.
Good. All right. No, this is out of my wheelhouse and I don't have time. I'm really happy that other people are doing this.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking that an ad hoc with the members that are.
Well, we asked David what he thinks about it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't know why I keep forgetting.
I was part of the last major overhaul and under the guidance of our chair at that time, Howie Bonnet, and I feel like asking him if he'd like to get involved again, although he hasn't been active on the CPC in some time because he did such a great job of piloting that. And I fully agree that there's a need. And I'm happy with either the executive committee doing it or an ad hoc committee being formed. As an editor, I'm always interested in the text because words are very important, especially in bylaws, although not very many people read them. So good luck to you, and if I could be of any help editing or perhaps trying to see if Howie would like to re-engage on those lines, I'd be happy to do it. I'd really rather not be involved in the fine tuning of the bylaws myself at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've heard from everyone, right? We heard from everybody. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I would like to talk about like the timing of when we can do the bylaws. Like Meredith, December, January would be the best time for me to focus my attention on that. So just, yeah.
Well, I think it will be a pretty ongoing process. I don't expect that we'll have anything completed by the next quarterly meeting, especially, given that we're going into the holidays and so forth. So I expect that this will be probably about a 6-month process, even if we form an ad hoc committee. So with that, let's go on to the park plan review process. And again, I don't want to get into a lot of the details. I just want to find out how people are feeling, what the interest level is, and whether or not we want to actually form some kind of a committee, if we want to do it informally. My personal feeling is that an ad hoc committee would be really appropriate for this particular plan review because it's going to involve a fair amount of text. It's going to involve reviewing some IGAs. And so I really think an ad hoc committee that's formed and then is dispersed once that project is completed would be our best option. So I'd like to hear from people about that. You want to start? Why don't you go ahead and start, Nick?
About the park plans now. Yeah, so like the bylaws, reviewing the park plan and that and kind of like a series of time, like 6 months or so. I would like to do something like that.
May I speak?
Sure, go ahead, Carl.
Okay, very good. This is my really my major issue here, first of all. And I want to thank everybody on the Parks Committee for being as attentive as they possibly can be in terms of issues of conservation and keeping the park the way they like it to do. You know, having said that, you know, I mean, everybody knows how much the land has evolved, you know, say since, say, 1700s into the 1900s, where we had a city garbage dump there in the 1960s, the restoration project, you know, and now we're in a position of trying to maintain, you know, what plantings and features of the park that we can for as long as we possibly can. Well, given that though, you know, everything evolves, right? And of course, the major threat, as far as I'm concerned in the long run, even in the short run, is the issue of global warming. Now, you know, you talk about your plants that you planted, you know, and they was a die-off from the heat. Well, I guess, you know, we can expect a lot more plants in the park to die off the more the global warming goes on. And, you know, the global warming is the biggest existential threat to, you know, the entire area, not just Willamette Natural Reserve area. I mean, we're talking about desertification of the Willamette Valley eventually. That's what global warming is going to come down to. Now, if, okay, people are interested in preservation, right? I think the ultimate thing in terms of preservation, the ultimate thing would be a global warming plan. And, you know, this is just what I envision, you know, and that is if there was some infrastructure, some money that could be spent in a long period of time to try to not only, you know, preserve what we have there, but perhaps to even having a cooling temperature for the park as well, so that we could have like maybe a microclimate that was actually maybe like 2 degrees centigrade lower than the surrounding area. I think what we could perhaps do is provide, you know, it's like give the world a reason to visit the Willamette National Reserve area. I mean, we could have something that would be seen as an asset, not just for Eugene, not for Oregon. I mean, it would be an amazing thing. If you look at some of the amazing parks that there have been in Paris and New York, Chicago, you know, natural areas elsewhere, okay? I think that a park plan can sort of give us a chance to dream, okay? It can give us a chance to think about what the actual potential of, you know, what is possible to be done with the space that we have. Now, given that, that is the ultimate thing, right? But where we are right now, before we can fly, we have to learn how to crawl and walk. And, you know, I understand that the park plan originally was, you know, made in 1996 or 97, right? And there has not been any formal document that has inventoried what goals have been met or have not been met, okay, in terms of what we have right now from the original plan. I would view a formal document like that as being an important first step to having this committee and the city of Eugene to start thinking big about what is actually possible as far as the life and the habitation, the vegetation in the park. And so, you know, I know that there are people that have already collected some of the things that have been done and not been met from the original park. But I would request that any person who has information like that should pass it over to the city staff. And I would like to make a motion to request the city staff to start undertaking a plan that is an inventory of the 1996, 1997 documents. I'd like to have some discussion on that.
I would like to have discussion over that. However, I do believe that that is in the proper wheelhouse of this particular review that we're talking about. It is true that the park plan is old, but park plans of this nature usually are very long-term. There's a very long arc. And as far as reviewing it and going over goals, there's definitely some efforts being made to do that. We have some updates for inventories. We have updates from Lori Holtz about methods of tracking. There's a whole host of information coming out of the city. There was an attempt from the Springfield side as well to do some updates on inventories. A lot of that work has already been done, but we want to incorporate it into our the plan for the CPC. Nick, did you have your hand up? You're on mute.
I was just waving Bill goodbye.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Eric has his hand up.
Okay, Eric, where are you? Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Thanks, Laurel. So as far as reviewing the plan and I guess the intended purpose of it would be to revise it, update it, to be reflective of a new set of goals or revised set of goals in reflection of what's been accomplished to date. I think part of that process wouldn't necessarily involve some level of public outreach and public input to the broader communities within Eugene and Springfield. And I would suspect that Willamette Board of Directors would expect that be a part of the process. Don't want to speak for Jesse and what the Eugene City Council may have in mind in those regards, but at least want to bring that to the committee's consideration.
I'd like to address his comments about global climate change. And I've read articles recently about parks on the East Coast that are already thinking 10 years down the road when their climate situation is going to change. And the push has always been to restore the habitual natural habitat. And they're seeing the natural habitat not being able to survive in the new conditions, and are looking at what the habitat or climate conditions will be in the future and planting, replacing plants that are dying out with species that can survive in the new climate. Typically, the last thing I read was about a forest where there are some trees that are dying up in Pennsylvania, and they're looking to Georgia to see what species they can replant to replace these trees to match the habitat that they're going to have to grow up in, and species that provide the same kind of resource to the climate. I don't know how that would apply to us, but we might keep that in mind, trying to replant the same species over and over and seeing that it's too hot or too dry and they struggle. We might look at, okay, what lives down in Roseburg in the Rogue Valley, because that's what we're going to be like 10 years from now.
Well, that is definitely a debate among naturalists and ecological restoration crews. One of the things that we need to be aware of in all of that research is you're never going to plant a native plant or any other plant that you won't have to foster at least for the first couple of years just to get it established.
I understand that.
The other thing is that we don't know what the Willamette Valley is going to look like in 10 years. So it would be very, very difficult for us to find species that would replace that. But instead of getting into really specifics like that, I mean, this is something that I really want to have a committee focused on. I want these conversations to be really intense and more elaborate among our committee members, because I think it is a really important discussion for us to have before we even really start talking about the content of our plan. But I want to go ahead, David.
So some history before the park was transferred from county to city jurisdiction, or Eugene's jurisdiction and Willamette Lane's. A man named David Wagner, who's still here, used to be the head of the University of Oregon Herbarium, which doesn't exist anymore. He led tours occurs in what is now the Whilamut Natural Area, part of it on the landfill. People met on the Autzen Bridge before it got a new name, and he kept records of when native plants started blooming. And those records, I had him as a guest speaker at a CPC meeting. Those records show the advent of climate change because the blooming is coming earlier and earlier. So we need to be concerned about the native plants that are here now and whether they're adaptable. Not every native plant in 10 or 20 years is going to perish. It adjusts to climate change, some better than others. But this is a very, very interesting and important topic, and I just wanted to point out that Dave Wagner did a lot of his research on plant blooming in what is now the Whilamut Natural Area, and was a big supporter of the measure to save this land for passive recreation.
That's interesting, David. We should probably follow up with that when we form this committee. So keep that, keep reminding me of that. Sharon, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah, I think everybody's bringing up really good points about the natural resources of the area. But the other thing as we update the park plan is to think about, should we be thinking in new ways about the relationship of the natural area to the community, the human community around it, as well as plant and animal communities.
Exactly.
We need their support, you know?
Yeah.
And if we don't think about that, I think we kind of could, come up with a super great plan that the community doesn't understand and support. And
That's a good
again,
point.
another opportunity to be a forward-looking area.
That's a good point. Carl?
Yes, I think, again, looking at the ultimate, we have to go back to A if we're going to get to Z. And I think by the very nature of what we're looking at, okay, this is the kind of document that should best be prepared by somebody who's a professional planner, like Jesse or somebody else in the Parks Department. And I mean, if people on the committee have information that they could give to somebody in the city staff about this, okay, I believe that a city staff could put together a draft, okay, and then we could look at this draft, and that would give us the ability to make future decision points, okay? But having the city of Eugene put together a draft of the inventory, I think is really the best way of proceeding on this, and that supplying information to the city staff is the best way of expediting a speedy planning process. It also, basically, if we do this, it's a springboard that allows us to go on to B, C, D, E, etc. How do people feel about that?
Yeah. I want to hear from two people that really have remained pretty silent. Meredith and Terry. First, I want to hear from Terry about this, please. Do you have anything to say, Terry?
No, I'm just kind of turned off. I feel like I'm being lectured at. So no, I don't have anything to say.
Meredith?
Yeah, I guess similar to what I said about the bylaws, like I'm interested, these conversations are interesting to me. And so, yeah, getting involved in this review, like at some point down the line, I'm definitely interested in particularly thinking about addressing equity and social justice in this plan and doing what I can to bring in resources that I have through connections at U of O and through my research. Be happy to do that. And the assisted migration stuff and climate change is interesting to me as well. So yeah, I'd love to stay tuned, but again, have very low bandwidth at the moment.
Okay, great. All right, I appreciate that. Go ahead, Vicki.
I think, everybody's had some really good comments, but I think we all realize the plan took a long time to get put together, came from a lot of different sources. And I think that same resources are going to continue to have to make any changes. But I think it would be good for the CPC to be able to have a group of people that just looks at the plan and looks at the goals and the scope of it, and just get a better sense of looking through and seeing what could happen. And I think it would be good to start within the committee and realizing that it has to be, any changes will have to go through lots of government bodies. But I think that we could start the process just by looking at it, breaking it up, and figuring out a plan. So I think everybody that it's a pretty huge project, and I think it would be good to start small and then expand, because I think with global warming and all that is pretty daunting. And I think we need to look at what's in the plan now and what could be possible. So it's just the first step is basically for us to take.
Great. Yep. Okay, I think we're all pretty much in agreement about that. So I will reach out by email and just kind of do a little recruitment of who has the resources, who would be able to, commit to, a small portion of the work, and we'll just get it started. If that's okay with everybody. Yeah, okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Joseph, are you going to be able to join us on the 2nd?
The 2nd, is that Tuesday? No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Election day, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I'll be back in town by then.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, Carl?
I'd like to ask, can you hear me? I'd like to ask Jesse how he feels about the idea of city staff preparing a draft.
You're muted, Jesse.
If we're talking about city staff preparing a draft, well, actually, can you clarify, Carl, what exactly you are asking of city staff to do? A draft of what?
Well, okay, I mean, it is a request, and you may not even be the person to do it. It might be somebody else to do it. But I think the first step in the planning process is basically to take an inventory. And that's, like you say, you take the original document and then you say, like, this was made in the middle 90s or the late 90s. And then you say, like, what has happened in the intervening 25 years or so, right? In terms of whether the individual goals and guidelines of the individual plan elements have been met. And it's kind of technical, and it's, the plan is a long document, and you have to go through each individual section in terms of evaluating what has been done or not been done. But I think being able to give a report, in terms of what has been done and what has not been done in a systematic way is a really, in my opinion, it's an important first step.
I agree with you, Carl. City staff we're actually working on that a bit behind the scenes right now. Nothing super formal, basically just taking goal by goal and saying how we think we have met the goal, and we have a meeting set up for a couple weeks out to review folks' feelings about, if we had to get a few people to kind of look at it together and see, we may all have slightly different opinions on where we stand with these goals, whether the goals we haven't met we intend on meeting, or whether we don't feel like we're going to meet them. And so I agree with you completely that that's an important piece, and my intention would be to get that review to the CPC sometime in the next few months.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead,
think-
Carl. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
I'm going to give you another two. Carl, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes though, because I would like to hear from someone else.
No, I don't even need 2 minutes. This is the last thing I want to talk about.
Great. Okay,
Jesse,
thank you.
is it possible to present? Yeah, is it possible to present elements of the plan like toothpaste coming out of the tube? I mean, we don't need a whole document all at once, but if you had like ongoing reports in terms of what you found, that might even make it more digestible. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty simple, Carl. It's actually not that complex. I think, if you look at the plan itself, there's a whole bunch of goals there. The intent would be to at each goal to provide some commentary from the city of Eugene on how we feel like we met those goals. That said, we need to meet as an organization and make sure we're on the same page. So I cannot give it to you in pieces.
All right, thank you for that, Jesse. I think we're pretty much on the same page with that, with the overall mission.
Yep.
Okay, well, I think that we probably have chewed on this enough. Is there anybody that has any other issues that they want other than, these 2 reviews? Is there anything that we've missed? Paul?
Yeah, I got my hand up. I wanted to just chime in on that last one. I know I'm new here and maybe I'm just an old guy speaking out of turn, but I do, how do I get my hand down? I do want to emphasize what it looks like to a newcomer around here. I've only lived in Eugene for 8 years now. And I'm just coming up to speed on, who's important and who's not, and who's a volunteer and who's got the money. But it seems really clear that the treasure that we have been charged to take care of here as CPC isn't so much the land is that it's the river and the water that runs through the land. And I just, as far as planning and, the ongoing changes to the document and that kind of the bylaws, I would just caution you to pay attention to what's happened to the Colorado River and other rivers in the U.S. and think about how to preserve the river as a priority, and then the land will follow. And then the fauna and the flora will follow that. But don't miss the treasure that you've got, that sooner or later, a logging company or a fire or just a really seasoned politician will scoop from us and use it for their own benefit.
Well, that is exactly why the CPC was formed, because somebody wanted to put a golf course where the natural area is now.
Mhm.
So yes, we are very familiar with that particular political influence. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for that. Okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up here. I wanted to just get some last minute action item reviews from other people. So I'll ask each member of the CPC for 30 seconds to just give me their final comments. Let's start with David.
I think David's telephone battery went out.
Oh,
He's not
okay.
with us anymore.
Oh, sorry. Okay, how about you, Vicky?
I don't know. I'm just interested in knowing when our next meeting is. I don't know if I have any other comments.
Okay. Terry.
I like Vicky's comment. Yeah, let's just move on to when is our next meeting and what are we doing? And do keep me informed about what you want to do about reviewing bylaws.
Okay. Meredith.
I'll stay tuned for the bylaw and plan update work. And I'll try to come to a habitat thing soon, if I can fit it in. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you. Nick.
Either or is fine. But yeah, I really appreciated Carl's comment about our global warming and climate change related issues moving on forward with the park plan and bylaws. So I really liked listening to the discussion, and I love to hear what everyone had to say. So that was really great, and hope we can talk more further about it for the next meeting.
Sharon.
I really appreciated the idea of reviewing what we've done and sort of freshening the project and the big plan, and all then the different views that came up today. I think it really reflects a good diverse group who probably bring different, if not expertise, but at least different interests and enthusiasm for various aspects of the natural area.
Thank you. Joseph. Joseph, are you still with us?
I was trying to get myself unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like to be involved in taking a look at the bylaws and stuff and the plan when we get to that. And so I'd like to be in the loop whenever you plan something. And I know I have a copy somewhere of the plan, but I don't know about the bylaws. And yeah, and I'll be available on Tuesday, so keep me on the loop on the morning stuff, because I kind of like to see how that log placement goes too.
Okay, great. I'll keep you in the loop on where we're going to meet for that. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Our next meeting date. Does everybody have a calendar?
Yep.
Okay. So typically we do the third or fourth week. How are people's Thursdays looking? Does anybody have any restrictions, I guess is what I should start with. Does anybody have any restrictions for their weeknights? I think Meredith, did you have some classes that might interfere?
And this will be in January.
Yeah, January, yeah.
Yeah, I will have things on Mondays and Wednesdays until 5:30, so it'd be a similar, I'd probably come late, so not Mondays or Wednesdays would be better.
Okay.
I've got work Thursday and Friday,
Okay,
evenings.
okay. Nick, do you have anything for school or anything you need to?
I work from 9 to 5, so on the weekdays. So it would be a lot more difficult for me to meet at a appropriate time when we're in person. But when it for virtual meetings, I could totally do anytime after 5.
Okay. All right. And
Wednesdays are not a good night for me because I
Okay.
have ski patrol meetings 2 Wednesdays a month.
so if we did it on a different Wednesday, would that your ski
Yeah.
patrol, would that work?
To the second and third Wednesday is usually when I'm involved in meetings.
Okay. Jesse, do you have anything that restricts you?
Yes, I am going to be on vacation the second and third weeks, roughly, of January. I prefer the 4th week.
Okay. How about Vicky? How about you?
No, I can make it work. I think Ruth works on Thursdays too, but maybe her schedule's different. No,
Yeah, I do believe she has had some challenges on Thursdays, which is one of the reasons we switched to Wednesdays.
Yeah, the
Sharon, how about
museum
you?
is typically open until 8 on Thursdays.
Oh, so you're not real fond of Thursdays then either? that what you're saying?
Excuse me. Oh, no, I'm not there all the time, but I just meant that is a new part of our schedule at the museum. That
Okay.
one night a week, we stay open until 8.
Okay. Well, it's sounding to me like the last Wednesday in January is good for everyone. Would that be your take? All right, Jessica, do you
26th.
have your calendar right there?
That'd be Wednesday, the 26th.
That
works
sounds
for me.
good to me. All right, let's
Works
just
for
call
me.
it what? I'm sorry,
5:30
what?
to 7:30.
Yeah, 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay, that works for me.
And we're gonna try to do in person if possible. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
would there be a large room that we could find within the city?
Well, I'll
Jesse,
see how the city, again, see how the city is, I think this, some of this is about meeting members' willingness to meet together. And then I can check with this, once we've kind of confirmed, if everyone's here is saying, I'm gonna feel comfortable meeting in person by January, then that's great. It gets weird if people are saying, I can't be there, I need to have video, it gets very difficult for us to have a live meeting and a video meeting that works.
I think
Yeah, I'm personally not in favor of trying to do a hybrid due to the technical issues with it. So I think it should either be virtual or in person. The hybrids are just going to be too difficult to navigate.
in person, I would like to see only vaccinated people and a room that is well ventilated. And we wear masks.
Okay, so we have our date, the 26th of January, 2022 from 5:30 to 7:30. All good with that?
Yep.
I think it would be
Yes.
best. Yeah. I think it would be best to plan initially for a virtual meeting before moving forward with physical location.
Any other opinions about that?
Well, we don't know the COVID situation in January. It changes, it seems like month to month. So
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to plan something this far out. Maybe we should decide on whether it's going to be meeting in person or not, the first of the month or after the first of the year.
That sounds reasonable. And I think that's something that we can do. I think
Have 3 weeks ahead of time or something like that.
yeah.
there aren't a whole lot of live city meetings happening. So I feel
Sure.
like, if we have to do that last minute and find a location, I think we can do that.
Because we don't know what the state situation is going to be in January.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. Okay, let's do that. And I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor, say or indicate aye.
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 Sure.
Okay.
Right.
Passed unanimously. Okay, we are officially adjourned at 7:33 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Appreciate all your help. Looking forward to talking with our new members and getting projects underway.
Thanks, Laurel.
All right.
Thank
good night,
you.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.